So, good morning, all of you. To continue with, we are now dealing with the medial bone, that is ulna. So, already I told you when I was discussing radius bone, like we have this is arm and this from elbow to wrist, we call it as forearm, and in the forearm, the medial bone is ulna and lateral bone is radius. We are already done with radius, now we will deal with ulna. So, when you discuss with ulna, see here we have this is the upper end which is articulating with the trochlea of the humerus to form humero like ulnar joint. Okay, that is the part of the elbow joint. Then the lower end is actually articulating with the like ulnar notch in the radius bone to form inferior radio ulnar joint. Okay, so this side between the radius and ulna, I told you we have interosseous borders. So now see here, again you will see we have certain projections, like the upper projection is olecranon process, then we have trochlea, notch, and then we have coronoid process, we have ulnar tuberosity anteriorly, we have certain borders and surfaces again, we have an anterior border in the midline. Okay, this is the nutrient foramen area which gives passage to the nutrient artery. The whole surface what you view from the front, you call it as anterior surface. Downward projection is styloid process of the ulna bone. This is the posterior aspect, and the posterior projection is olecranon process. Then here in the midline you are finding one border, that is posterior border, which is quite sharp. Okay, so the posterior border is dividing the surface here into the two surfaces, no, the posterior surface and medial surface. Lower down the projection is the styloid process. Okay, so now when you observe the upper end of the ulna, it has olecranon process, then it has coronoid process, it has trochlear notch, and it has a radial notch but the head of the radius to articulate over here to form superior radio ulnar joint. It also has supinator crest which is posterior to this like posterior border of this radial notch. Okay, then we will see all the surfaces also. I told you between radius is the lateral bone, ulna is the medial bone, and in between them we have interosseous membrane, isn't it? No. Coming to the various borders and surfaces, let me tell you borders first. So the border which we have first is like in front, coming from the ulnar tuberosity lower down, and again it is fading. You call it as anterior border. Okay, and interosseous border here, whatever we have here is away from midline. It is towards radius. That means lateral border is interosseous border here for ulna, whereas interosseous border of radius was medial border. Interosseous border of ulna is away from midline. That's why it is lateral border. Okay, and so how many borders we have seen? One is this lateral border is also called as interosseous border. Okay, then we have the other border is behind, that is the posterior border, and there is one anterior border. Okay, so anterior, then lateral, and behind is posterior border. Okay, I'm repeating, this is anterior border in front, then lateral border which is interosseous border, and behind is the posterior border. Okay, then we have certain surfaces between the lateral border and posterior border. This is interosseous is lateral border. Between lateral border and posterior border, we have posterior surface. Between the posterior border and the lateral border, we have this, sorry, medial border, we have this medial surface, and in front we have anterior surface. Okay, anterior surface is between this border. Okay, what is this anterior border and the interosseous border? Whatever surface we have is the anterior surface. Okay, so anterior, lateral, and posterior borders, anterior, medial, and posterior surfaces. Okay, then so the muscle attachments you see here. What is this tuberosity? I said ulnar tuberosity. Let me show you once again. Okay, what is the name of this tuberosity? Ulnar tuberosity. So ulnar tuberosity, which muscle is taking its insertion over there? We have brachialis. Okay, brachialis takes insertion at the ulnar tuberosity. Now this is the medial bone, and this whole thing is the medial side and the medial surface. So what are the muscles you are finding attached here? Flexor digitorum superficialis, pronator teres. Pronator teres is originating from ulna. We have seen insertion was in the middle one third of the shaft of the radius bone. And whole of the shaft of the ulna, we are finding the origin of front of the arm, front of the bone. You will see flexor muscles are coming. So what is the name of this muscle? Flexor digitorum profundus. So it is coming from the anterior surface and also from the medial surface. Okay, then lower down in the anterior surface, we are also finding the origin of pronator quadratus. It is wristband type of muscle coming from ulna getting inserted into the radius. Okay, on the posterior aspect of the ulna bone, we can see the posterior border is actually very prominent, which will divide it into medial half and lateral half. Medial half is towards the midline, lateral half is the one which is towards the radius bone. So the sharp border here, it is giving attachment to the aponeurosis for certain muscles like flexor carpi ulnaris, extensor carpi ulnaris and flexor digitorum profundus. Okay, and this is the medial surface, right? Like posterior-medial surface, right? So from here you are finding the origin of flexor digitorum profundus. Towards the radius bone, this side we will call it as, which side is this? Towards the radius is lateral side, isn't it? So and here this is on posterior aspect. So it is the posterior-lateral surface of the ulna bone which is giving origin to abductor pollicis longus, extensor pollicis longus and extensor indicis. And what is the membrane extending between radius and ulna called as interosseous membrane. And whatever green lines we find at the upper end and lower end, you will see those are the attachments for the joints which are in vicinity. Towards the lower end we have wrist joint and towards the upper end we have the like elbow joint and also the superior radio-ulnar joint. Right? Okay. This projection is of course the styloid process. So these are the bony landmarks and muscle attachments. Now let me show you with just keeping my video on. I will try to show you the parts and surfaces. And focus more on. Try to stop sharing the screen so that you can see the bone more clearly. Okay. So always we should be very much clear like to which side the bone belongs to. Try using only left bone because we have used left radius. So successfully I have picked left ulna bone. So how do you hold it in anatomical position? I told you the superior one is called as the olecranon process and the shelf-like projection where in fact you can keep the pen over here. That means this is shelf-like projection here. This shelf-like projection is nothing but the coronoid process, olecranon process, coronoid process. And this notch here is actually the trochlear notch. The trochlear notch is showing one area which is actually not so much clear. I have just put one chappies mark. This area is non-articular. Okay, and above and below is articular. So with what it is articulating, what bone is this? This is humerus, head, neck, shaft and lower end. This is capitulum, isn't it? Fully shaped. This trochlea, medial epicondyle, lateral epicondyle, coronoid fossa, radial fossa, behind you have olecranon fossa. Now if you just see, this is also left humerus bone and you can see, I told you this is the trochlear notch. So the trochlear notch comes and fixes in the trochlea of the lower end of the humerus. So in this way, it takes part in the formation of elbow joint. And if I also articulate the head of the radius over here, you can see here, head of the radius is articulating with the coronoid process. So altogether, three bones are here. You call this joint as the elbow joint. Okay, coronoid, trochlear notch is for the trochlea and like capitulum is for the head of the radius. Okay, like this it is. So in extreme flexion, you will see the olecranon process fixes in the olecranon fossa, head of the radius fixes in the radial fossa. Okay. Now, behind when the elbow is extended, this is which fossa? Olecranon fossa. You can see olecranon fossa is being fixed by the olecranon process of the ulnar bone when the elbow is extended. Okay, whereas coronoid fossa is occupied by the coronoid process, this lower shelf-like projection. Coronoid process is fixing in the coronoid fossa when the elbow is flexed. Whereas when the elbow is extended, you will see olecranon process is fixing in the olecranon fossa. Okay, try to pause the video and try to learn as many times as possible. If you have bones, that will be more better. So that is now coming to this olecranon OC, like that you remember OC. Olecranon process and coronoid process. Olecranon process has superior surface, posterior surface. Okay. Then near to midline, it has medial surface. Away from midline, it has lateral surface. And in front, you have anterior surface. Okay. Then this is the non-articular tubercle. Actually, this trochlear notch is contributed by two projections. Upper one, this projection is the olecranon process. Lower one is the coronoid process. So the anterior surface of the olecranon process and the superior aspect of the coronoid process, they take part in the formation of this trochlear notch. Okay, in the center of this trochlear notch, there is one non-articular tubercle where I put the Champis mark. Okay, these two are articular, but this strip is not taking part while the formation of joint. Okay, then if you observe, now you should know, like if you hold it in proper anatomical position, it looks like hood of a snake, something like that to make you understand and you see. So it should be held in this way. And if you are observing, there is one notch over here also. Okay, again I'm keeping Champis mark. Okay, so this area is actually the radial notch. Okay, so what for is this radial notch? So this radial notch is for the head of the radius to come and articulate to form superior radioulnar joint. So this radial notch is facing laterally because radius is the lateral bone. So that when you hold it in proper anatomical position, you should see trochlear notch should come front and radial notch should face laterally to fix into the head of the radius. Okay, that is. And here the border which is very sharp and it is towards radius is the lateral border now, which is also called as interosseous border of ulna. Okay, so that is I wanted you to know. Now lower down below this coronoid process, there is like bony elevation. Again, I am using one Champis mark to make you clearly understand this bony elevation. You call this area. So now I'm using a different color Champis so as to make you understand very clearly. See, this area is the ulnar tuberosity. Ulnar tuberosity. And this ulnar tuberosity is showing one sharp margin. Okay. So that is more medially and behind posteriorly. This is actually called as supinator crest. As though it is as sharp as a knife. So you call this as supinator crest. So upper end has many features for you to remember. It has olecranon process with 5 surfaces. It has coronoid process. It has trochlear notch. It has this radial notch. What is the purpose of this radial notch? For the head of the radius to articulate. Then it has ulnar tuberosity and the sharp margin is supinator crest. Okay, so that's what I wanted you to know in the upper end. And this is left bone. I have identified by keeping this like radial notch lateral side and I am keeping trochlear notch in the front. In the lower end, if I observe, I am finding the rounded head and this is the styloid process. Small projection, as not so much projected as we have seen with the radius. Okay, little small. So this is, what is the name of this projection? Styloid process. And this is head. So styloid process should face medially. Okay. And this trochlear notch should face anteriorly. And this radial notch should face laterally. That's how you will identify the side of the bone. So that's how I have identified this bone as left ulna. using all left bones only to avoid confusion. Okay, so these are the bony features. Now let us see what are the various borders we have. Okay, now from this ulnar tuberosity, if you trace downwards, there is one border which is moving like this towards the head of the ulna. You call it as anterior border. Okay, then there is one border which is very sharp. You can easily feel the sharpness, which is towards the radius. You call it as lateral border. Okay, and there is one more border which is behind. You call it as posterior border. The border which is behind is the posterior border. Okay, this is the middle one. Is the posterior border. Then coming to various surfaces. So in front, the surface is the anterior surface. Okay, between the anterior border and also the posterior border. This whole surface is the lateral surface. Sorry, medial surface we have. Then this is the anterior surface, and behind we have posterior surface. Lower down, try to observe, it has rounded head, and this projection is styloid process. Okay, so these are the body things which you should know. Then now, because now we have done with almost, I have shown you the bone and I have shown everything. So ulna is the medial bone of forearm. It is homologous to lateral bone of the leg, that is fibula. How come like lateral bone of leg is homologous to ulna and medial bone of the leg tibia is homologous to radius? Because during embryological development, the limbs rotate. This we will explain you when we take embryology as a separate subject. Okay, as a part of anatomy. Now coming to the parts, like ulna is a long bone consisting of upper end, shaft and lower end. Upper end is expanded and it is hook-like and it is having a concavity which is facing forwards. The concavity of upper end is, what is this notch? Trochlear notch. Okay, lies between this olecranon process and coronoid process. Shaft is long and upper part is little expanded, whereas lower part is little narrow. You can see. Lower end is slightly expanded and towards medial side it has this projection, that is styloid process, and towards lateral side it has rounded head. Okay, now see here, this is the medial end which is the styloid process of the ulna, and this is the rounded head which articulates with the medial aspect of the radius, is actually fixing the head of the ulna to form inferior radio-ulnar joint. Inferior radio-ulnar joint. Okay, then so these are like colored pictures I put so that you can clearly understand. This hood-like projection is the olecranon process. Shelf-like projection is coronoid process. All of this is trochlear notch. This area where you will see head of the radius comes and articulates, you call it as a radial notch, which is shown in blue color. Okay. An upper end has two processes, olecranon process and coronoid process. Olecranon process is projecting upwards. Okay, it has like upper surface. So upper surface is the place where it is receiving the insertion of triceps brachiae, and it is also receiving the attachment of capsule of elbow joint. And of course, there is a bursa between the tendon of triceps and capsule of the elbow joint. So this is front surface is quite smooth now, anterior surface, because it is forming the upper part of the trochlear notch. Okay, then posterior surface, you can feel in your own body. This is the posterior surface of the, which bone we are talking? Ulna bone. Okay, so this posterior surface is subcutaneous and it is triangular. And here we have a, if you just keep your hand over the desk like this, so we are still able to actually balance it without pain because we have fluid filled cavities, synovial fluid filled cavities. These are bursae which gives the lubrication and protection. So a synovial bursa is found on the posterior aspect of the olecranon process. So medial surface in its upper part, it provides attachment to three structures. Okay, which is the medial side? This one is the medial side. So what are the muscles we have? I have shown you already. You can just go back, pause the video and check the picture there. We have ulnar flexor carpi ulnaris, and we also have the oblique bands of ulnar collateral ligament. Okay. So this is the lateral aspect you are finding where you have this radial notch with the head of the radius. Shelf-like projection we have is coronoid process. It has superior surface and front surface is anterior surface. Superior surface is smooth and it is taking part in the formation of the trochlear notch. Okay, so anterior surface is triangular in shape and lower corner it is actually I have just shown with this pencil chalk piece shade this white area, this whole white area is what tuberosity is this white area below this coronoid process ulnar tuberosity. I told you posteriorly it is sharp forming the ulnar, what is that supinator crest also. Okay, then so what are the various ligaments we find from here? You will see anterior band of the ulnar collateral ligament. Okay, then oblique band of the ulnar collateral ligament. Then these are the ligaments of the formation of the superior radioulnar joints. We will repeat again when we are doing radioulnar joints. Just you try to figure out the location, the place where we have this oblique cord and its various collateral ligaments, oblique ligament. Then humero-ulnar head of the flexor digitorum superficialis. This I can show you, this one. Then ulnar head of the pronator teres, this one. Okay, then ulnar head of the flexor pollicis longus. Okay, so all these are actually originating from the medial margin of the anterior surface of this tubercle. Then coming to the various surfaces like medial surface, it gives origin to flexor digitorum profundus. Okay. Okay, lateral surface, the upper part of this surface possesses a radial notch for the articulation of the head of the radius. There we have a ring-like ligament, I said, that is annular ligament, which holds the head of the radius in the ulnar, like radial notch of the ulnar bone. Okay. And I told you posteriorly we have a sharp margin that is the supinator crest, which gives origin to which muscle? Supinator. Okay. That is. So this whole notch is the trochlear notch. Okay, upper part is articular hyaline cartilage, lower part is articular hyaline cartilage, but in the middle strip where I have shown you the chalk piece mark, that is non-articular. Okay, that is radial notch is this one. Again, I am showing you with chalk piece mark the radial notch. Okay, and then shaft has three borders: lateral, anterior, and posterior border. This also I have shown you the borders and surfaces in the bone. So lateral border is sharpest and it is in continuation with the supinator crest. It is sharp above whereas it is ill-defined below. I told you this sharpest border, that is the lateral border of the ulna, it is with the medial border of the radius, they give connection to the interosseous membrane. Front border is the anterior border. Okay, then the upper 3/4 gives origin to flexor digitorum profundus. I'll show you in other pictures. This one, flexor digitorum profundus. This is the front anterior surface. Okay. Anterior border is also involved. Then posterior border is seen from behind. So it starts like here, you have this is the posterior border. Okay, this is the apex of this area, what we are discussing now, the subcutaneous area, the back of the olecranon process where we have bursa. At that apex, it starts and descends towards the styloid process. Like this, it comes and it is almost moving till styloid process. So posterior border, we can feel the posterior border for ourselves. It is subcutaneous. Okay, and this posterior border is giving attachment to three muscles. What are those muscles we have? We have flexor digitorum profundus. Okay, then we have flexor carpi ulnaris, and we have extensor carpi ulnaris. Okay, here. Then anterior surface, this is the front surface we have. So it lies between the anterior border and the interosseous border, between them. So the major muscle you find originating is flexor digitorum profundus in upper 3/4. Lower down, you are finding the origin of pronator quadratus. And of course, nutrient foramen is located little above the middle of the surface. Okay, medial surface, it lies between anterior and posterior border. Flexor digitorum profundus arises from the upper 2/3 of this medial surface also. That means flexor digitorum profundus comes from anterior and also medial surfaces. Then behind you have posterior surface, lies between posterior and interosseous borders. It is divided into smaller upper part and larger lower part by one oblique line. Okay. And then, so above the oblique line, it receives the insertion of a muscle which is onconius. Okay, onconius. So area below this oblique line, it is further divided into lateral part, which is towards radius, and medial part, which is towards midline. And here, towards the lateral part, you can see three muscles are originating. What are those? Abductor pollicis longus, then extensor pollicis longus, and then extensor indicis. Okay, the distal part is not showing any attachments. Distal 1/4 is devoid in the sense there are no attachments to this area. Okay, coming to the lower end of the ulna, very simple. It has only one rounded head and then one styloid process. This head is articulating with the triangular notch of the radius to form inferior radioulnar joint. Styloid process is projecting downwards, and we know it is little above in position when you compare with the styloid process of radius. Styloid process at its tip, it is giving attachment to the apex of the triangular articular disc, which is actually taking part in the formation of wrist joint. That means separating the cavity of the wrist joint. Okay. So tendon of extensor carpi ulnaris lies in the groove between back of the head of the ulna and styloid process. That means on the posterior side. Now, if you see when you are extending your elbow, you are finding this is the lateral epicondyle of the humerus, medial epicondyle of the humerus, and this is the tip of the olecranon process. Almost they lie in the same plane. But when the elbow is like flexed, all these three bony points, no, they are forming one equilateral triangle. So if there is any fracture, usually this relationship would be disturbed. That you can check in X-ray. Okay. Ossification. So ulna is ossifying with three main centers, primary center, one toward in the shaft, that is diaphysis, and we have two secondary centers, one for the upper end and the other is for the lower end. Okay, primary center is appearing during 8th week of intrauterine life. Upper end appears during 9th year and it goes and fuses with shaft by 18 years. Lower end appears at 6 years and goes and fuses with the shaft by 20 years. That means lower end is the growing end of the bone. Okay. Now coming to the clinical anatomy, I told you radius and ulna are the bones which are actually helping in the movements like pronation and supination. What is pronation? Suppose if your palm is facing anteriorly, you call it as pronation. Oh, sorry, this is supination, and if palm is behind, you call it as pronation. Okay, this is pronation and this is supination. Okay. So there is a common, easy terminology for us to remember. So beggars supinate and kings pronate. Okay, pronation is this, supination is this. Okay, palm facing forwards is supination, palm facing backwards is pronation. Okay, that is. So this is actually performed by the union of radius and ulna. Suppose if there is any fracture, sometimes radius bone goes and gets attached to the ulna, ulna bone goes and gets attached to the radius. That's what is called as cross union. Okay. So dislocation of elbow, such type of diagrams, I have pictures I kept when I was taking humerus also. So whenever person is falling on the outstretched hand, you will see the head of the, like this olecranon process, the trochlear notch and the coronoid process may get slipped from the lower end of the humerus, leading to the dislocation. This already I told you, like there should be, suppose when the elbow is extended, lateral epicondyle, like the tip of the olecranon, medial epicondyle should lie in the same plane. If they are flexed, it should make an equilateral triangle. And if it is disturbed in X-ray, it shows some fracture or dislocation. There is one condition which is called as Madelung's deformity, which is nothing but the displacement of the lower end of the ulna. You can see head of the ulna is not fixed in the ulnar notch of the radius bone. Okay, this type of dislocation is Madelung's deformity. Okay. So hope you understood. Pause the video wherever you are not understanding. Stop and read the slide for yourself. Try to read as much as possible. Then it becomes easy for you to understand. Thank you.